Welcome to Azariah's studio. Today I'm going to be talking about working with multiple hanks of yarn from an indie dyer. You may have heard that if you're using multiple hanks of the same color yarn from an indie dyer, that you need to alternate every couple of rows or rounds which skein you're working from. That is to make the color more even. As an indie dyer myself, I would agree with that. This is going to be a sweater. These yarns are both from Hummingbird Moon, which is local to me up in Boulder, Colorado. This is her Full Moon BFL sock base. It's 75% superwash BFL Leicester wool and 25% nylon. This colorway here is called Off With Their Heads. This will be my contrasting colorway for the cuffs and the bottom and the tops of the pockets, and a couple little areas that I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to put it into yet. Then these four skeins, same base, are called Sorcery, are going to be the body and the sleeves. So what do you do when you have four skeins and you need to alternate every other one? Because if I do two and then change to this, I could still have a stripe section, and that is the concern, is that there will be an obvious change in the color, where you have changed color if you go all once skein 1, then all skein 2, and all skein 3. Sometimes there will be a stripe color. Even if something was in the same bath and it wasn't speckled like these are, if it was more of the tonal like these two are, there's still going to be enough difference that you might see the stripe. So since I have four skeins that I'm going to alternate from, I'm going to divide each of these four skeins into 4 small balls. Okay, how am I going to do that? Well, obviously they still have to be wound from hanks into balls. I could, as I'm working on the ball winder, take it off every so often and weigh it. That is one option. It's a valid option. It's going to take you more time because every time you take it off of here and put it onto the scale, if you're not to where you need to be yet, you're going to have to rewind it and keep winding until you get to where you need to be. These hanks are each 100 grams, so I'm going to need 25 grams for each of the 4 balls. Well, they are also 464 yards, so I will need 116 yards for each of the 4 balls. So the yardage is what I'm going to go by. And I realize these are approximate values. They could differ slightly in either direction with a little more or a little less. So 116 ballpark is what I'm going for. How am I going to measure that? This tool that I have over here. It is a C-clamp that holds this guy here to this cinder block. This is just a little tool that counts your fishing line in feet that my husband has attached to this wooden dowel with a guide on either side. The C-clamp holds it in place so it doesn't go for a walk while you're using it. So that would be no good. And this guy here only counts feet. It does not count yards. So I needed to do some math, and I'm going to need 348 feet. They can be found online, just the fish line counter, or the entire assembled piece. And you can either make one of your own or have one made. I am very blessed to have a woodworker for a husband. Right, so what I'm going to do is, my cinder block has a piece of felt underneath it so it doesn't scratch the table. I'm going to scoot it closer to the ball winder. I'm going to get this first hank set up to wind. Alright, I have the skein all set up on the Swift. I'm going to put the yarn through guide 1, through the fishing line guide, through guide 2, This particular fishing line guide, as they probably all do, has a little lever to flip up, and that keeps the yarn in place. Make sure it's set to 0. Through the yarn winder guide and onto the ball winder. And I will do a shot from this side as well so you can see what's going on this side here in just a minute. I'm going to put some more tension over here on my left side because it needs a little bit of drag like it would be receiving from the fishing line if it were in the reel, so that it will count properly. And I've decided to just go to 310 feet because a little bit at the beginning that didn't get counted and a little bit at the end that doesn't get counted, plus a couple of hiccups here and there probably. It's not perfect, but we're not going for perfect. We're just going to mix up the color enough that we don't end up with a whole bunch of stripes. Once I get the 4 balls from this one hank, I'm going to label. I'm not going to like number them. They are going to get a sticker that I'm going to fold over the very end of each of them so that will all be the same color. So skein 1 will have one color, skein 2 will have another color, skein 3 will have yet another color. And then when I'm working, I'm just going to pull out 2 balls and work with those 2 balls, make sure they have stickers that are different colors, and work with those 2 balls till they're gone. I will make notes of what those 2 balls were because I don't want my next 2 balls to be either of those 2 colors. And I'm hoping this will keep things mixed up enough that we will have enough variety, that there won't be any striping or color pooling, which could still end up being interesting because there's a lot that goes into, a lot of variables that go into color pooling. Almost there. So other variables that go into color pooling include your gauge, the needle size you're working with, how many stitches you're doing, if you're doing rows or rounds, if you're turning between rounds in some situations. In crocheting, sometimes you turn even though you're working in the round, and that can cause different things to happen with the color. All right. Just going to break the yarn, come over here, and take it off the ball winder. It is a very tight ball. I am going to be rewinding these balls so that they're a little bit fluffier. The reason they're tight is because of the extra tension I was putting on over on my left side here, so that the fishing line counter would count properly. So I'm going to finish up with this one and rewind these 4 balls. All right, so here is a closer shot of my yardage counter. Right, so here's guide 1, here's guide 2. This is my yardage counter. This is its reset button that zeroes it out. It's just that lever that flips. My C-clamp that holds this to this. A little bit of felt here you can see sticking out. In here, flip that up. And I'm putting tension right about here. I'm pulling down slightly. Because you want it to act like the fish line. So that it will count. So paying attention as to why this one's been a little bit more difficult to keep tensioned properly. You want, in future, I will make sure that the yarn is coming off of the swift in the opposite direction which it currently is. So I will make sure it's pulling from this direction from the left, and that the swift itself from my setup will be spinning counterclockwise, because this one was rougher and just a little bit more that I had to pay attention to than the last skein. So that is how the setup works. Again, look online for them. Look for yarn yardage counter or something of that nature, and I'm sure something will pop up. So ball number 4 doesn't need to be taken through the counter and rewound a second time. So this is ball number 4. This was ball number 3 after I rewound it, and these are the 2 that I have not yet rewound. You can see how much bigger and fluffier and squishier these are compared to these 2. It's very well worth it. This yarn will not be very happy sitting like this for very long, and it stretches it out. So I will let you know how it goes. I will show progress with this particular project, and you can see how my colors are striping or pooling, or if they're not. And hopefully this works, and hopefully this was helpful for you. Thank you for joining me here in Azariah Studio. As always, thank you for watching, and happy making.